what do you think is happening right now with Bitcoin?
Well, usually I do not like to predict price, but I think we're at a very, very good time. Of course, there's some consolidation. There's a saying, I guess, in the space that, hey, if you're not ready for my 20% drops, you're certainly not ready for my 600% increases. But overall, what we're seeing is some consolidation. The ETFs just launched. We've seen tremendous run up in a very short period of time. A little bit of pullback is happening, but all of the macro climate remains extremely bullish for Bitcoin. Primarily due to what people know about the long term, which is what we care about most at BitGo, which is long-term macro. Looks like we're still going to be very solid with having a static supply of Bitcoin being something that you can count on that doesn't get eroded. And of course, fiat currencies continuing to do massive changes with debt and deficits and no sign of change for that front.
Bitcoin, we've got the halving coming up as well, potentially another underpinning of price. But who's been getting into these ETFs? Have you been able to monitor flows, Mike?
We have a little bit. Actually, so far, I think it's been mostly the smaller ticket sizes. So remember, institutions move pretty slowly, pretty glacially, frankly. I think we've seen a wave of retail here over the last 2.5 months. I think it's getting a little bit bigger. But the institutions, we've seen some smaller hedge funds come in, larger hedge funds will come in, pension funds are coming, and endowments are already here. So now that we have an ETF available, which is the distribution channel, which makes it super easy for everybody to participate, it takes a little bit of time to go through investment committees, but I think that we're starting to see that run up happen now all through the summer. It rhymes, so you should say it, 80K by May.
In the moment, the calendar item, the halving, what happens, do you think?
So the halving is an interesting pattern that people look at, but I think really the most interesting part is the long-term meaning of the halving. So Bitcoin has a monetary policy, which was set in motion back in 2009, and it has remained completely unchanged since that time. It's the longest standing unchanged monetary policy in the history of mankind. And this halving is a demonstration that Bitcoin has a solid commitment, unchangeable commitment to that policy, which will keep going. So with the halving, the supply decreases on a block by block basis, which means that we see a lower rate of inflation. Some measure this stock to flow and other measurements of how you compare that to other assets and how they inflate. But Bitcoin's in a very good stead as one of the most static supply assets on the planet.